Despite our best concern, cows still present lame, and sometimes with no apparent reason. But a breakthrough at Nottingham University's vet school has shown that the condition score of the cow may be a major factor in this. Now, to talk us through this, today we have Professor Jon Huxley, who's been doing this fascinating research. Now, Prof, the link seems to be between the lameness and the condition score seems to be the importance of this layer of fat, this shock-absorbing layer of fat somewhere in the foot. Now, the foot's quite a complex structure. Just whereabouts is this layer of fat?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Peter. It's one of the complications is that the foot is a complicated structure. The fat pad is a pad of fat. It's made up of 3 cylindrical bodies of fat that all lie together, and they lie together underneath the pedal bone, the bone in the foot, which lies within the hoof capsule. So they physically lie underneath the bone, and they act in a shock-absorbing capacity when the cow walks. So when the cow walks, she strikes heel first, and the initial concussive blow we think is cushioned by this pad of fat.
So it's not to do with the corium itself, which has become impregnated with deposition of fat, that's offering this cushion. It is these 3 pockets elsewhere in the foot that are crucial.
Yeah, they're very, very closely associated with the corium, but they are distinct structures. So we've got these 3 bodies of fat which lie sort of in the corium and closely related to it, but they are distinct structures.
We're talking about half a ton of an animal on 4 feet and often 2 feet at some time, so there's a heck of a downward pressure on that limited area. How thick is this fat layer?
Yeah, we're not talking about any great thickness. We're only talking about 5 mils, that sort of range, a few mils of thickness. But what they do is all they're doing is just concussive. They're just softening that initial concussive blow. So because it's a sealed cylinder of fat, when the heel strikes, the pressure is then transferred into the fat pad, which then sort of just dissipates that initial concussive blow and transfers the weight over onto the wall as the cow levels up onto a foot and bears weight.
And are you saying that the better the condition of the cow, the thicker the fat layer, the more it will absorb the impact, and therefore the less likely it is to become lame?
Yeah, that's right. So what we've been doing is we've been conducting some work at Nottingham University, really trying to get to the grips with this problem and really work out what use it is on farm. So historically, the things we knew about the fat pad, and we knew it was there, and we knew what it looked like. And then some work that's come out of Germany and America over the last decade suggested that the thickness of the fat pad was related to condition score, so the 2 things were linked. But the thing that we've managed to do over the last couple of years is in 3 different data sets we've managed to demonstrate that as cows lose body condition, that predisposes them to becoming lame. So we've got 3 completely different pieces of work all saying exactly the same thing. So cows are more likely to become lame if they lose body condition score, and we think that's almost certainly related to the thickness of the fat pad.
But are you saying that at peak yield, that is, when the demand is there for the cow to produce that output of energy in terms of milk, and it calls on those body reserves, that those cows are more vulnerable then than at any other time of the lactation?
Yeah, absolutely. It's clearly one of the things we know about the Holstein is that they mobilise a lot of body fat to support milk increase to peak yield. And so what we now think is happening is as they mobilise body fat from all over the body to support yield, they're also mobilising some fat from the fat pad, which is reducing the absorptive capacity of the fat pad, and it's that is one of the key risk factors for them becoming lame.
How long does it take to build up and denude this fat layer in the foot?
The detail of that is still work that we've got going on at the moment, so we've got lots more work to come out on this over the next few years. But what we often see is that cows become lame sort of 60, 90, 100 days into lactation. Now what this work is starting to suggest is it's that initial weight loss in the first 30, 40, 50, 60 days that is one of the risk factors for them becoming lame in the future again. So the 2 things do marry together really quite well.
John, do we know with this mobilisation of fat, whether it comes at the same rate from some of the reservoirs in the body as it does from the foot, because you think of the abdominal area around the gut and the tail head, you would think that the fat would be mobilised from there first rather than from the extremities like the leg or the foot.
You strike one of the absolute key and core questions in this. There is, just like us and other mammals, cows mobilise and lay down fat preferentially in different locations, but it would also be fair to say that when they mobilise body fat, they tend to mobilise it from all locations. However, it does raise the interesting question that it might be that we can identify some lines of cows who preferentially leave the fat intact when they mobilise body fat to peak yield. And so it is one of the interesting questions. We might be in the future selecting cows based on their ability to retain fat in the fat pad whilst at the same time mobilising it from other locations.
And to put things in perspective, of all the causes of lameness, what do you think the percentage is that would result from this eroding of or this diminishing of the thickness of the fat layer in the foot?
So clearly it's going to vary farm to farm. On farms with digital dermatitis well under control, which is now entirely possible to achieve with careful management, then it could actually be the vast majority, 80% plus. On other farms it could be less if they've got dermatitis as still causing problems. Across the board, certainly greater than 50%, 50, 60, 70% would be my guess.
So, do you think that we should be keeping cows in a slightly better condition score, despite some of the disadvantages associated with that health-wise?
I think what you need to remember is all our work works at the herd level. So I don't think we need to change our targets at all. We just need to keep more of our cows within those targets. So targets would be 2.5 to 3 at drying off, 2.5 to 3 at calving, and losing an absolute maximum of half a condition score point to peak yield. Now with the modern Holstein, that can be really quite challenging to achieve, but yet even on high yielding herds, a lot of cows will be hitting those targets and staying within those targets, but there will be some cows which fall outside of those targets. So I don't think the targets need to change. All our work is suggesting is that we need to tighten up on keeping as many cows as possible within those targets.
Just finally, if I could, John, this internal friction or bruising, which may or may not cause inflammation, probably will cause inflammation and may or may not cause infection and may track down. Is there anything we can do apart from this dietary angle in the design of buildings and walkways, etc., which if the causal element is this impact or this walking on a hard surface, is there anything we can do to reduce that in the design of buildings or the way we manage our cows?
Increasingly our understanding of the root causes of lameness suggests that body condition score loss might be an important component. However, on a farm with really good environmental management, minimising standing times, really comfortable cubicles, comfortable lying surfaces, maximising lying times, on that sort of farm, they might be able to get away with a little bit more body condition score loss to peak yield because their environment is so well managed. But equally the converse might be the case. So on a farm with relatively poorer environmental management, they might not get away with the same degree of body condition score loss and then the same thing of the cushion. So it's likely to be a whole combination of all these risk factors together. So being very clear, our work doesn't in any way suggest or undermine any of the really important work around lameness control plans and lameness control programs on farm, which look at standing times, lying times, underfoot surfaces and all those other things. They remain absolutely key. All our work is suggesting is that body condition score loss to peak yield might be one of the key fundamental underlying risk factors for the development of disease.